Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome back. Obviously, we've done the player rating show earlier. You're getting two shows in one night for me. I've calmed down a little bit now. And the place I sort of want to start is not what you would think. So, Manchester United are back in the Champions League after beating Liverpool 3-2. Yeah, unbelievable. Happy as Larry. Like, there ain't a fan out there that ain't ready to buy all the gear next year, training kit, new sponsors on that, bigger players coming in. The truth is the truth. We're in the Champions League. But for me, this review is more about that than just a result, because the game like this can change the feel of a season, okay? But they can also expose the truth underneath it. United went 2-0 up, let Liverpool back in, and then still found a way to win through Kobbie Mainoo, which, you couldn't have written it better, right? Signs a new contract, scores the winner. That's what the United dream's all about. So tonight, I want to talk about what it actually means for United, not just for the table, but for Carrick, for the team, and for what come next, and for us as fans, right? And if you want Manchester United reviews that go beyond the result and just get into what the game actually told us, subscribe to United Lens, because I'm always going to touch on every aspect. It doesn't matter if we win, lose, or draw. There's pros and cons to everything. And this is where I want to start tonight. Okay. Yes, United are back in the Champions League, but what did this game actually prove? That's the deeper lying thing. You'll see channels out there just blowing up Champions League as if this was we beat Liverpool, we've done the back to back. All true. All true. Because every version of the review is obvious, right? United beat Liverpool 3-2. Kobbie Mainoo gets the winner. Old Trafford goes mad. Champions League football is secured. And United have done the league double over Liverpool for the first time in 10 years. And for that, you can't deny any of it, okay? It's all true and it all matters. But for me, the more interesting question is this. Did United prove they are ready for the next step? Or did they just show they still need more levels, even in a massive win? Okay. Because you look at it, how the game actually went. United were brilliant early on, right? We've been asking for that since Leeds game, and maybe 3 or 4 games before that. We looked like we've been slow. We've come out the blocks, we've come out fighting, went 2-0 up through Cunha and Sesko. Couldn't ask for more, right? And then the reports are all saying the same thing as what I'm going to say. Liverpool were vulnerable, United were aggressive, and that opening spell gave them the real control of the game. But, and that's the thing, it's always a but then the other side of United showed up as well. Liverpool got back into it through Szoboszlai and Gakpo after the break, literally quick successions, literally 1 minute from Ahmad stepping onto the pitch to Szoboszlai's goal, and Ahmad gave away the ball. That just shows that he wasn't warmed up properly. He wasn't out spraying passes around, getting a feel of the game. Probably went in the changing room, had to get half his kit on, because of that's what happens when you make a sub at half time. They're not ready to come on. So Liverpool back in the game, like I say, through Szoboszlai and Gakpo. And a lot of the report has focused on the fact United let control slip through defensive errors and poor moments in their own half. And even if that is the true, the result is this big. Sorry, guys, there's still a warning side inside of it, right? And that is what I don't want tonight to just be a celebration show. Because Mainoo's winner did more than win the derby. It secured Champions League football. It capped a huge week for him. Like I said, signing a new 5-year deal and pushing the conversation even harder towards what United are building around him now. Okay, all this talk about midfielders we need to bring in, midfielders that are leaving, and Kobbie Mainoo is part of that conversation. Then on top, you've got Carrick. That angle is, you can't really control it. Let's be honest. It's pretty unbelievable. You have got a guy who, since he's come in, is leading the league in points. Top of the table. If the season started and ended now, we would have won the league. But that's just, it doesn't matter, right? A lot of the reactions out there saying this win strengthens his case, especially because United are now up, guaranteed top 4 back in the Champions League, and have gone 10 wins, 2 draws, two defeats in the 14 games. Beating every top team out there. I believe he's the first manager ever to do that in their first season in the Premier League, to actually, for the first time, face that team and beat that team. So all of this is amazing stats. And if they chose to give Carrick the role, we can all understand it. But there's also reports out there, Carrick himself tried to cool that down afterwards and playing down the permanent manager talks, because we don't know if he actually even wants the role, because when he came in, he didn't want the role. He was happy just to interim, walk away. So for me, that's the real view tonight, okay? Not just we're back, but like I said, there's always buts. What did this win tell us about Mainoo, about Carrick, and about how far this team still has to go, even after a night this big? And that's where I'm going to start. Because I think the biggest thing this game gave United was not just qualification. It gave them clarity. And clarity is a massive thing in sport, right? In mindset and everything like that. But for you in the chat, why I go through all the clarity, totally different thing. It might feel like charity work. What did this win prove more for you? Mainoo's rise, Carrick's, got a case, or United's mentality? Give me your insight into what this game proved. Just one thing. I don't need a whole paragraph. Just come into the chat and say, for me, this happened. For me, that happened, okay? Let's just have a look who's in the chat to start with. We've got Danny here. We've got Sean. I don't know if I want to like the video with that Unana jersey. Hey, many a goalkeeper have worn this. Think about the under-18s. There's no Unana on the back. Just saying. I think PSG and Bayern showed us this squad isn't ready. Exactly. That's sort of where I'm going. But what did the win mean to everyone, guys? Get in the chat and tell me about that. Oh, the poet, and I didn't know it. But let's start with what it did tell us. It told us we can start strong. We can come out of the blocks flying. We're not as clinical as we thought we were. I thought we could have been maybe 4-5-0 up come half time. We had the chances. We rode our luck. Who thinks the ball touched Sesko's hand? I think it brushed the knuckles very briefly, but not enough. And it's a rule I don't agree with anyway. But then you look at, it was probably a penalty before he even scored the goal. You had Fernandez's effort. How the hell that even went wide? He hit it so pure. It was one of those he scuffed it. He probably would have put it in. Who else had another one? I think Cunha had another one, didn't he? Blocked. So on another day, they could have put 4-5 away. 2-0 up after 20 minutes. Who thought we were getting justice for the 7-0? I did. I certainly did. But it didn't happen. And we fall away. First half. Let's talk about the first half. So 20 minutes gone. 2-0 up. Cunha's put us 1-0 after 6. Again, bit of a goal mouth scramble. Bit of a deflection. Goes in the corner. This is one of those games where you go, luck's going our way, right? Second one, Sesko, like I say, run through on goal. Just as he's about to hit it, gets a little tug just to put him off. Goes down, but picks himself up. Strong mentality, doesn't complain for the penalty. Ball's still live, gets himself back up. Ball comes over. Is it an assist for Fernandez? Apparently it's been given on FPL as an assist. So he'll take that one and that puts him on 20. Whether he's stripped of it later on, guys, just be aware of that. It will be looked at. Gets himself back up and gets in the way. And bundles it over the line. I love a bundle over the line. You know, for me, that a striker can't be in a better place unless he can bundle it in. So 2-0, and like I say, more chances came. The football was flowing, the passing was flowing, in behind the fullbacks every time. Cunha's getting the ball, driving, and then obviously Sesko got smashed off the pitch by Konaté in the back. It's the only thing I could pick up from that first half to why he couldn't come out in the second. Whether he got a slight concussion from going down there, he did half slam into the boardings, and they are metal behind there, the metal gates. So I don't know if that was one of them. But come back out second half, and where were we? We were still in changing rooms. Like I say, Ahmad, that's not how you warm a player up. He needs to be out there for the whole of 15 minutes, warming up, playing passes, popping off shots, intermittent runs, just really to get him into the game. So when you've been playing as fast as we were, he comes in hard and fast and is up to date. So shine issue he'd been carrying for a while. Oh, shin issue that he'd been carrying for a while, according to Carrick. Yeah, mate. Well, again, but that's going to have helped because, like I say, he went down that, still going to smack his legs on the little wall. You know, as you walk around, it's still got the raised wall before you hit the pitch that you drop off as well. So, shin issue or not, Sean, do you not think that he should be able to play through a shin issue? Are we talking shin splints? Are we talking... Because he wasn't limping at any point through the first half. So whatever it was, he gave a solid 45 minutes. And I actually gave him a 7 out of 10 in my player rating because I don't think he'd done anything wrong and was constantly doing the sort of things I want him to do, where he's grown as a striker at the club. But that change at half-time with Ahmad being so slow out the blocks compared to everyone else is why he gave the ball away. Been there, seen it, got the T-shirt. I've done it myself. I've seen players do it. It was a lazy pass. It was, let's play yourself into the game. No, the first ball you give him, he dribbles past one and plays. I'm not sure if it was a ball meant for Luke Shaw and he underhit it, a ball meant for Maguire that he hit off target. But it was just an absolute shit pass. And we'll just call it what it is, right? Ahmad then obviously chased back. Could Harry Maguire fouled outside the box? Probably. Could Dallo have got across quicker? Probably. But, you know, Szoboszlai was looking for a part. He's like that. He's scanning everywhere. And he's just having to beat a player because there's no one to pass to. And he gets the luck on another day. Dallo's legs aren't, well, might be a half inch closer together and the ball doesn't go through him into the bottom corner. But we can't be starting like that. You can't have that coming out at half time. So, for me, another warning sign for United fans, okay? It's always about mentality. Are you up for it in the first half? Yeah, we're 2-0 up. Right, so now we're cocky. Because when you come out and you're slow in the second half, you came out cocky. You should always come out mindset, 0-0, go again. How often have you heard me say that? And anyone who's got young kids or plays football himself, if you have that mindset, you will go a lot further. Because it just means you never stop fighting. You've got to get the next goal. Liverpool got that, got the goal, tails up. And I thought, fuck me, we saw this the other day, didn't we? This was no different to the other day against, well, we could go West Ham, we could go Leeds, where they just got a goal and went, yeah, we got them, and come at us. And obviously then Gakpo, I don't know what happened on that goal kick. Just a misplaced pass. You know, it's the first real mistake Lemons has made since he's arrived at the club. I don't know if anyone agrees with me on that, but he really hasn't done anything that bad. And it was probably 2 yards off, and that's the margins in the Premier League. 2 sort of meters is unforgettable, but everything else was horrendous. There we go. I just realised my mic wasn't so close. We could have done a lot more. Again, playing out from the back. We have a goalkeeper who all the time goes long. We play it, we go long. This time, coming through the centre, I hate the pattern of play where you come in the centre and reverse it out to a fullback. because this is the mistake that could always happen, especially if they're pressing both centre-backs passing out, because it'll leave you or them a pass and a little 1-2. So literally that was a prime example of what not to do when playing out from the back. And that scares me because Champions League, it's something that's sort of a given, playing out from the back. I don't want to be a counter-attacking team. I don't want to be one-dimensional. They're going to go long, pick up the knockdown, try and get it to Bruno. Bruno set up a goal, because that's the way it's sort of feeling at United recently. And I'd probably say, although Carrick's had, 12, 14 matches, most of it's been direct play, one way or another. Not just long ball, not Wimbledon FC, but very direct, pick up second balls, knock the ball in behind the fullbacks if you can drag them out. Very easy to predict. And the mid-table to bottom-table teams are used to that, and that's what they do, so they know how to defend it. But stats-wise, 38% possession to United at Old Trafford. How do we feel about that? When Carrick came in, we talked about United DNA, getting on the ball, keeping the ball, attacking football, attack. 38% against Liverpool, and we're not talking Liverpool's best team. We're talking half of Liverpool's reserves playing. XG was 2.14, nice and high. 18 shots, 6, but only 6 on target. So we're wasting chances again. Big chances, 3 goals. The irony of that is Mainoo's goal wasn't classed as a big chance, and it was something like a 0.1 XG, which basically says he got lucky, and he did. He threaded the eye of the needle, didn't he? Big chances missed, though, 2. You had Bruno's, which I mentioned, and what was the other one? The other one was Cunha's. But 18 shots to Liverpool's 13. They've hit the target 5 times. We've hit the target 6 times. They've controlled the game possession-wise. We've given them the ball. We've 62% at Old Trafford. It's not on. A lot of us thought that we would be on the counter-attack, but I felt we could have moved the ball around. You think about it, the only player who nearly every single United fan would question wasn't a first-team player is Aidan Heaven. Otherwise, that's our starting 11 for most games, yeah? So against, like I say, a second-string Liverpool for at least 50% of it. If they'd had Salah and people like that today, we might have been in real problems. Isaac, Ekatike, who else wasn't playing? Gakpo was playing out of position, not on the left. At the back, Frimpong could have been playing right back as with Thingy on. There was just problems. Endo, Kirkes only had 45 minutes in him, so we literally had them on the ropes and we let them off. So, how do you guys feel? Okay, get in the chat. Let me know. Get in the comments afterwards. Let me know. A win is a win, as I said last week, and it is business side of things. Now it is about what do we do after this win? Because could we have done better passing? Yeah. Liverpool made about 40% more passes than us. Could the accuracy of our passes been better? Definitely. How many of the passes were in your own half? 50%. Almost 50% of the passes. I think it's about 48% or something like that of the passes were in our own half, because that's what all we were doing was counter-attacking, knocking it long, reduces the amount of passes to get up the pitch, right? So let me just have a look and find the stats. There you go. 153 passes in our own half, 128 in the opposition's. If they're not counter-attacking stats, I don't know what are, because own half passes for Liverpool, 192. Opposition half, 324. So that's the 5-yard passes. That's looking for a little touch here, little ticky-tackers. Can we create space? Which we're not doing. We are getting wide and we're trying to get the ball in. 9 times out of 10, driving down the wings, cutting back, passing across the box, and someone eventually pulls the trigger. They were playing wing play, They were constantly down there. That they were definitely getting more throw-ins and just controlling the yardage, which against Liverpool, something I thought we would do. I thought we would, if we were going to go long, we go long and wide. If we go down, we get corners, we get free kicks, we get the throw-ins, and we push them back, push them. Which, of course, we got how we got our very first goal. It was their throw-in, went backwards. They went backwards from the throw-in. We pressed, and we end up making them make a mistake, and we get the goal. But that's the game. That's the game in a nutshell, right? We beat Liverpool. We beat a weak Liverpool. Well, that's their problem, right? At the end of the day, you can only beat the teams that's put out in front of you. They had their moments. They took advantage of them. We had ours. And Kobbie Mainoo pulls off. Well, it's not a weldy, is it? But definitely a well-timed, what should we call it? Putting a cherry on top of the cake for his contract. Here's your 5-year deal, and you can have a goal against Liverpool to win us the game at Old Trafford, Stretford End. Fucking hell. If there weren't many players who wanted to re-sign their contracts and be guaranteed that in their career, right? But, and this is a big but, there were a lot of positives to come out of this. Manchester United now have 3 games left, but all pressure is off. The only pressure left in the Man United team is Bruno Fernandes needs 2 assists. If this one is taken away from him, he still needs 2. If he doesn't, well, don't just go 1. Try and get an assist every game and make it even harder for someone to catch your record. But now we can play youngsters. Let's talk about that. Let's get Shea Lacey on the pitch because Ahmad ain't doing it at the moment. In the last few games, maybe we just drop him for the rest of the season and we bring in the youngsters. Maybe that'll give him a kick up the arse. And Bumo's not been doing it. So Lacey's got every right to have a shout. After the results this weekend, maybe Obi should be brought into the first team. Maybe give him a couple of run-outs, 45 minutes here or half hour there. That's going to help. Fredrickson hasn't really had any chance at the back this season. Obviously, we've got Martinez back next week. We've obviously got Harry Maguire and Heaven, who, for me, shouldn't be changed. But why can't Fredrickson get on? Why can't, who else has been? Freights or the Fletchers get a few more minutes? When you secure something and you have nowhere else to go, it's a time to blood those youngsters because it takes the pressure off them. There's less pressure on them making mistakes. Obviously, we were doing it under Amarin, and I was all for that. But because the results weren't there and we weren't top 4 and there was always pressure to move up the table, any one mistake. If you remember Mantaro coming on the right, he was so scared. It was like a deer in headlights, right? He wouldn't take someone on. He was just looking for the pass. Just don't give the ball away. Don't give the ball away. And it's sort of one of those things you tell youngsters, just go out there, enjoy yourself. Just don't give the ball away. And if you see an opportunity, take it. When you compare Mantaro and Lacey gets the ball and he's cutting in and trying to hit absolute weldies into the top corner, coming close. And Mantaro is fucking playing 5-yard passes and just looked scared and allowed them to press him. And okay, hasn't stepped back into the squad because of it. Doesn't look ready. It's not always the case. But yeah, Bayern Deer, you could come have a couple of games in goal because why not? We need to, if we're looking to sell him, give him a couple of games before the end of the season. It's only going to help. That's another thing. Ugarte, if you want to get rid of him, give him a couple of games alongside Casemiro, 45 minutes each or something like that. It helps get players out. But talking of sales, we now can go for the number 1 list instead of the number 2 list, which we've had to go for every other season. When you're in the Champions League, you can go, yeah, we're Manchester United. Oh, yeah, and we can offer you Champions League football. And if you come in, we can keep that. So now you can go after your Anderson. Now you can go after whoever you want, okay? Because you've got that Champions League football next year. Because now you've got an extra 100, maybe even 200 million because of that Champions League football. You've got the extra sponsorship money going to come from the training kit. Because where we had Tezos, and that's gone, training kit's going to have an extra sponsor because they want their name on the pre-match shirt. They want their name on the training kit when the media days are there for the Champions Leagues. Great. Even more money to spend in the window. That's what today was all about. Okay. Now, with all of you watching over on X, if you can pop over, whack a like on the video. For you watching here who are in the chat, I'm hoping you've already hit the like button, hit the subscribe. We're on the road to 150 by the end of this month, okay? I want 150 subscribers by the end of this month. So if you can share the video out on any platform, tell them what the channel's all about, I would would really appreciate it. Sooner we get up these numbers up, sooner we can get the merchandise, sooner we can get the super chats and everything else, and you really can have more of a say on here from when I miss your chats, guys. Remember that. Let's move on to what I want to talk about really tonight, and that is manager. Now, I said I would not talk about Carrick until the season was over. For me, Champions League football security can't drop out of that. That is the end of the season. Like I said, 3 games left. We can play youngsters. We can do what we want. So for me, now I will talk about Carrick because it's mathematically done. Carrick has achieved what he was put in place to do, right? How has he done it? Luck, good judgment, poor judgment. There's been many people out there saying many a different thing. I think that's the politest way I can put it, guys. Sometimes I hear people like Roy Keane, and I think, fuck me and him, peas in the pod sometimes, because he was talking before the Liverpool game, and they were saying about the stats and everything like that, and then he come back and went, but he was being praised for his performance where he lost 1-0 in the second half for changing the formation. First half, you're 2-0 up, your formation's working. Second half, you change it and you lose the second half. Same again this game. We made a change. I think we should have brought Xerxes on for Sesko, not Ahmad. I thought Mbeumo was doing the right stuff on the right wing, running in behind, and his stats showed up. Putting him up front changes the kind of player you have. So for me, that was a bad choice. And I think he's made a lot of bad choices with his substitutions, which is game management, which is something you've got to make mistakes to learn, right? I'm an absolute believer in that. Make your mistakes, and sometimes you've got to live and die by the sword. Carrick has achieved Champions League football in what I felt is probably one of the worst Premier League seasons for a long time. When I look at certain results and where teams are, look at Aston Villa. You know, I don't know how it finished. Maybe someone can tell me, but Spurs were 2-1 up against them. They wanted it more from Villa because Villa have got a Europa League match they need to win. And it's starting to show that now. As you see, Villa, I know that they've dropped away. We chased them down, and that pressure made them drop out of the top 5. But they know, obviously, we can make Champions League the top 6 if they go and win the Europa League now. So they're going to rest players. Liverpool, worst champions for, I think since we had David Moyes. 10 losses this season is the worst in definitely over 10 years, that's for sure. And I think that's the same amount of time. Man City have not been firing. Arsenal have literally bottled the league like most of us probably thought. Chelsea, God knows what the hell's going on there. You buy kids and they get big heads and they run out of steam. Some of the mid-table teams are everyone's beating everyone, so that's all over the place. Tottenham, God, what a season. So how has Carrick actually done? Has he just had the stars align to get us there? It sort of feels that way. I speak a lot on the other channels about Carrick and sort of say he's in an impossible situation, right? You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Because if we go out and say, you get my number one choice, you go out, you offer 20 million to Brazil to get Ancelotti out of his contract. Ancelotti comes in. For me, the greatest manager still managing. And you bring Ancelotti in, you sack off Jason Wilcox and go, Ancelotti, you got full control. Buy, sell, do whatever you like with the club. And he fails. we're all going to say we should have kept Carrick. It's true. You can deny it and go, no, it's not the case because you just don't know. You will, because it's called sod's law, right? That's likely to happen. Same as if we keep Carrick and choose not to go for a big name manager, and Carrick, the players, not down tools, but no, now he's a full-time manager. They ain't got enough fight. They're not trying to impress a new manager coming in, which a small part of me still feels there's a bit of that in the squad. Then what do we do? What do we do? Like, oh, now we've got to sack Carrick. Or we said we'd give him 2 years, 3 years. Well, he's lost the first 6 games. Now we can't get anyone big in because they've gone to other clubs and you're back to square one. So we're damned if we do, damned if you don't. Now, I'm not a betting man. I like to play the odds, from time to time, but I certainly wouldn't put money on it. But I would say it's sort of 60-40 in Carrick's favour right now for him to get the job. I don't feel that giving Carrick the job without trying to get the biggest and best managers in is the right choice. So I have no problem with Carrick being given the job if Ancelotti, Tuchel, everyone like that turns it down. I don't care that there is a World Cup coming up. Plenty of managers are out there who do league and manage their international teams as well, because they don't have so many games. I know it's not something you do in England, but Tuchel, Ancelotti, Nagelsmann, 3 front runners, Savvy. Obviously, we ain't getting PSG. I wanted Enrique before we got Amorim, before he goes and wins the Champions League, because I knew he was capable of just doing the right things and an unbelievable coach. Savvy, I feel, is going to be in the same mould. I would expect Iniesta to be in the same mould. I just see them. They were just coaching on the pitch, the players around them when they played, and I knew they'd be good coaches when they come off it. Zidane, another one. Obviously, he's just holding out for the French job, and I don't ever expect him to manage in the Premier League. So I suppose what I'm saying is I will give Carrick the job, but we have to approach other managers first. And we need it to be a vocal we've made an approach for. And you need to make Carrick aware. And he interviews for the job. Because at the end of the day, he hasn't got a proven record, but he has proved himself at United. And that's what it all comes down to. You could bring the most proven manager in, but can he manage the Manchester United dressing room? Does he understand what the club's about? Carrick ticks half the boxes just naturally, having been an ex-player. So we'll see. That's how I feel about it. I hope you guys sort of feel similar. I would really love in the comments afterwards, like I say, come at me about the management. Carrick, yes. Carrick, no. But give me a reason. You can't just say, but he's won all these games. Because the truth of the matter is, we've won games against poor teams, and we've lost the games against teams we should have beaten. And the draws and things like that. There's been a lot of mistakes there as well, and I just hope he learns from those mistakes. Now, needed that. Let's talk about one of the big things that came out of today's game, the bench. Now, Sesko comes off. We don't put Xerxes on up front. We move Ahmad and Mbeumo around. Yoro comes back on at the backs, secures it. Not got a problem with that. Casemiro Mainoo's getting overrun in midfield. No Ugarte. We don't change anything in midfield. So that says to me that someone else wasn't doing their job. But when you look at the bench, and our bench was not great at all. Who did we have left there? We had Bindir, Mazraoui, Malacia, so 2 fullbacks. Then Ugarte and Mount, a 10 and a 6, and Dillit and Martinez weren't available. obviously Xerxes, Euro, Dorgu, and Ahmad came on. Yet we couldn't change the game. It's very worrying for me. Although we talk about buying 2 midfielders, there's a lot of talk. Funny enough, after I talked about Lewis Hall back in the big break, when I was saying Lewis Hall would be my number one priority, all of a sudden you're seeing the bigger channels talking about it because they're just late to the party as always. They're waiting for everything to be confirmed, but your eyes do it for me. Lewis Hall is the perfect replacement for Luke Shaw. He's the England replacement. We should be buying English players. So Walton, Anderson, Lewis Hall is perfect. If you want Tonali or Bruno G, you can't have Lewis Hall. You're not getting 3 players from Newcastle. You're getting 1. So now you got to make your choice. And I'd rather go Lewis Hall and get the other 2 in for 150 million, maybe 200 million on those 3 players. It's expensive, right? Premier League tax, English tax, Manchester United tax. It's starting to sound like the Labour government when I talk all of this tax. But we need to strengthen our defense, our bench to defend games, right? So when you're up, do we have another striker who can come on? No. Do we have experience who can come out and see the game out? Maybe, but have they got the legs? You know, Mazraoui's experienced, Mason Mount's experienced, but you know, if there's a bit of rain and wind, Mason Mount's probably going to fall down and hurt himself. You know, De Ligt's experience can't stay fit. Martinez is just an absolute liability. He's our version of Romero, which ironically both Argentinian. And I'm just looking like there is no one else, unless you wanted to go Tom Heaton. So sometimes when you want to see out the game, I was watching the Bayern Munich PSG, and you start looking at the players they're bringing off the bench just to see out the games, just because you know they're just going to get the ball and pass it. They ain't going to run. And if you can't run, you're not going to be out of position, right? So all this talk about signings, if you replace both central midfielders, okay, you potentially move Mainoo to the bench, bring in 2 new ones, or Mainoo there and one of the new ones is on the bench. Okay, that works. But there's still going to be no cover for fullbacks. There's still no cover for centre-backs. Still no cover for strikers. We'll be down to only 1 because most of us are expecting Xerxes to leave. Obi hasn't had a standout performance in the under-21s. He probably still needs another 2 years there. And the reports and the videos I've seen of him walking around like Billy Big Bollocks in Manchester, refusing to sign kids' autographs and things, says to me we might have a problematic player, another Jadon Sancho. So he needs to grow up. And that's probably why you've not seen him as much in the squad this year. Now, it's not hearsay because I've seen the videos and I've seen it from multiple different sources. So it's not a one-off video. It's happened many a time. Shea Lacey's giving away boots and he can't even give away an autograph. I feel that we still need to get sort of 3 or 4 free transfers or aging transfers just to strengthen the whole squad, to help those youngsters through. If you think you've got 11 players on the pitch, then you've got 7 on the bench, so that's 18, leaving what would be really 7 young players you can put into the squad. So as long as you make your bench experience and you can rotate age and youngsters out of those 7, and you always keep the same starting 11 where you can, that's the only way we're going to progress through the Champions League. And that's where my mindset's gone now. How do we play 2 games a week? How do we play 3 games a week? Because when you progress through, are we going to start sacking off FA Cup and Carabao Cup because we're in Champions League? So we don't build up the backlog of games. Or is the lack of fitness been because we've not been playing 2 games a week? We've not been playing 3 games a week. So we sort of got not lazy, but the body's not been used to it. So when it has come to the second game in a week, we've gone, ache. I can't. I'm not quite 100% for that. I don't feel that's the truth. I feel the fact we've not been able to rotate with sensible players because they've just not stayed fit is the real thing. So the fact we can now go for, like I said, the A list, one of the main factors of any player we sign is, and the main ability is the two abilities that count: availability and the ability to turn up and make yourself known. Okay. I'd rather have a player who comes and stands out for 45 minutes and goes off tired than someone who plays the whole game but goes unnoticed. Yeah, it's not many of you tonight. I get that. Bank holiday Sunday, a lot of people out. I think what we're going to do, we're going to hold the show here. I'll be back Tuesday night, okay? But when you watch this back, jump in the comments. Let me know what you thought. I can bring that to Tuesday. Maybe we can do a knock-on effect from this. I'm going to listen to Carrick's post-match interview. And obviously, our next game is only a few days away now. It's amazing how your next game comes around so fast when you when the season's over and done with, right? So, what we got next? We've got tomorrow night, Chelsea Forest, Everton City, and we'll just have to see what happens because next Saturday, big game below us, Liverpool Chelsea. Obviously, we're away at Sunderland. That is a hard game, but we're all safe, so everyone should be rotating players, in my opinion. So Sunday preview will be what, Friday night? Sorry, the Sunderland preview on Friday night for Saturday's game, and then we'll do the review show straight after the game about 5:15, and then Sunday night we'll do the post-match reaction. Okay, because obviously my season's over, so I'll be able to watch all the 3:00 kickoffs now, so as well. But I will see you all Tuesday night. Okay, get in the comments. Make sure you smash your like, and definitely get these videos shared so we can hit the goal of 150 by the end of this month. All right, guys, and I'll catch you all later. Take care.